Well, guys, about an hour or so ago, hour and a half actually, depending on who you um, listen to, you pay attention to, and all that. But according to various sources, mostly one of them being CNBC, the ones that first broke it, it is official. It is now official. WWE will be part of, basically Endeavor has now officially made it known that they have bought WWE. Yes, that is true. WWE has been bought by Endeavor. Now, here's the thing though. As many of us pretty much figured out, a transaction of this size is going to take time to officially finalize. They still got a lot of X's and O's, if you will, to make it sound a little simpler for a lot of us. They still have a lot of X's and O's that they have to cross, here and there before the deal is officially finalized. Period. Basically, it's officially made official, if you know what I mean. And yeah, like I said, the news broke about an hour and a half ago, and I sent it, believe it or not, to the various wrestling people that will talk about it. But right here, it's from CNBC. I'm going to bring it up right now here on my phone, hopefully with enough battery life. I got my charger connected to it right now. I'm going to plug it back. I'm going to put it back into my plug in a little bit, and I'm going to rearrange this so I can read it better, if you will. But as soon as it pops up and does that, I do apologize for the wait. Here we go. It says, and this was reported earlier today, it says WWE agrees to merge with UFC to create a new company run by Ari Emanuel and Vince McMahon. Key points, we'll get into those. And according to this, and it says, and I quote, Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Entertainment has agreed to merge with UFC to form a new publicly traded company controlled by Endeavor Group. The company's announced Monday morning, which is today. Endeavor will own a 51% stake in the new combat sports and entertainment company, where WWE shareholders will have the remaining 49% according to the terms of the agreement. The deal values WWE at $9.3 billion and UFC, which is owned by Endeavor, at $12.1 million. Oh, not million, but $1 billion. Okay, let me reread that. It says here, and I quote, Endeavor will own a 51% stake in the new combat sports and entertainment company, where WWE shareholders will have the remaining 49% according to the terms of the agreement. The deal values WWE at $9.3 billion and UFC, which is owned by Endeavor, at $12.1 billion, the company said in a press release. Shares of WWE fell in pre-market trading while Endeavor's shares rose. Ari Emanuel will act as chief executive of both Endeavor and the new company, the company said. McMahon likewise will be executive chairman, while Endeavor president and COO Mike Shapiro will also work in the same roles at the new company. Dana White will remain as president of UFC, and WWE CEO Nick Khan will stay on as president of the wrestling business. The board will consist of 11 people, 6 appointed by Endeavor and 5 by WWE. The merged company's name will be announced at a later time. The announcement confirmed an earlier CNBC report. It also came a day after WWE wrapped up its flagship live event, WrestleMania, in California. The company has spent the past several months looking for a buyer. McMahon returned to the company, or manipulated his way back into the company as chairman in January to oversee the process. Shares of WWE are up more than 33% this year as of Friday's closing bell, giving it a market value of more than $6.79 billion, or $6.79 billion. The agreement would pair two of the biggest sports entertainment brands in the world. Despite notable differences, WWE features scripted matches and soap opera-like stories, while UFC showcases showcases authentically brutal mixed martial arts fighting. The organizations look like a good fit in terms of content and culture. Several UFC fighters, including Ronda Rousey and Brock Lesnar, have already wrestled for WWE. UFC champion and superstar Conor McGregor lauded the news of the impending deal Sunday evening. Quote, "This is what Conor said. Incredible, what a powerhouse," he said in one tweet, following up with another tweet displaying an image of him brandishing UFC and WWE championship belts. A merger will also include WWE's decades-long run as a family business. McMahon's father founded WWE in its original incarnation during the middle of the 20th century. McMahon, who bought the company from his father in 1982, is the controlling shareholder. Over the past 4 decades, WWE has grown into a global phenomenon, spawning breakout stars such as Hulk Hogan, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Dave Bautista, and John Cena. McMahon, 77, retired from the company in July following a string of revelations that he paid several women millions of dollars over the years to keep them quiet about alleged affairs and misconduct. His daughter Stephanie McMahon became co-CEO alongside Nick Khan. Paul Levesque, who is both Stephanie McMahon's husband and wrestler known as Triple H, took over creative duties from Vince McMahon. After Vince McMahon came back in January, Stephanie stepped down and Khan fully assumed its CEO role. The elderly McMahon recently locked in a 2-year employment contract according to security filings. Khan in recent weeks has been making the media rounds to discuss the potential sale. He told CNBC's Morgan Brennan on Thursday that it's been a robust process and that it's drawn many interested buyers. WWE offers Endeavor's shareholders a muscular media and live events business, as well as decades worth of intellectual property. The company generated $1.29 billion in revenue last year, driven mainly by its $1 billion media unit. It states UFC meanwhile has paid off for Endeavor. Last year, the MMA League helped its parent company sports business make $1.3 billion in revenue. Endeavor's market cap stood at about $10.53 billion as of Friday's close. WWE also fits well with the cultures of Endeavor and UFC, which also reflect their leaders' hard-edged styles. McMahon, Emanuel, and White are known for WWE also fits well with the cultures of Endeavor and UFC, which also reflects their leaders' hard-edged styles. McMahon, Emanuel, and White are known for their outsized personalities, and each has a share of devoted allies and harsh critics. White is no stranger to scandal. Either earlier this year, video emerged showing the UFC boss slapping his wife during a public argument at a New Year's Eve party in Mexico. Now that was from CNBC. Now, here's what's interesting as I go back to the email that I sent to people like Alex and JD and all them. This is from F4W Online, Wrestling Observer, if you will. They basically talk about the same thing. They say, after months of speculation, WWE will be sold to create a new combat sports company. It states, 3 months after Vince McMahon manipulated his way back into the company in an effort to spearhead a sale, WWE announced a transaction agreement on Monday with Endeavor, owners of the UFC, to buy the iconic wrestling brand. The news was first broken hours before Night 2 of Sunday's WrestleMania 39 in Los Angeles by CNBC's Alex Sherman and made official Monday morning with the SEC as it was finalized Sunday. There are several regulation hurdles to clear before the deal can be done, but the plan, as reported, is to combine WWE and UFC into a publicly traded spin-off company. Endeavor will remain in place, owning 51%, while the other 49% will be owned by WWE shareholders. The name of the new company is unknown, but will trade under the ticker symbol TKO. It says the name of the new company is unknown, but will trade under the ticker symbol TKO. If the aforementioned regulation hurdles are cleared, the all-stock deal will be done in the second half of the year. And that's from the Hollywood Reporter. That basically is from the Hollywood Reporter. Let's see. It says further on and everything. Oh, it's not from the Hollywood Reporter, but they got a quote from the Hollywood Reporter. Anyway, going on, they state, WWE's enterprise value is reported at $9.3 billion, with UFC carrying an enterprise value of $12.1 billion, putting the new company at just north of $21 billion valuation, if you will. According to reports, the deal came together quickly, and the details were finalized over the past few weeks, with everything being put to bed on Sunday. The corporate structure will be Ari Emanuel, who was in attendance at WrestleMania Sunday as chief executive of both Endeavor and this new venture. Patrick Whitesell remains as Endeavor executive chairman, while Mark Shapiro remains as president of Endeavor and the new company. McMahon will be executive chairman of the new company, with Nick Khan as president of WWE and Dana White remaining president of UFC. A new 11-person board to be established this year will include 6 members from Endeavor and 5 members from WWE. They continue on. Some answers, more questions. The impending sale ends in an intriguing first quarter. The impending sale ends in an intriguing first quarter of the calendar year that saw McMahon return to the board with 2 of his former executives in tow, that resulted in several board members resigning. His daughter Stephanie McMahon departing as co-CEO, and plenty of palace intrigue speculation with head of creative and Stephanie's husband Paul Triple H Levesque remaining at WWE. Throughout the sales process, several companies were linked to buying WWE, which included NBC Universal, owners of USA and Peacock, the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. A rumor shortly after Vince McMahon's return that had, a rumor shortly after Vince McMahon's return that had the PFL buying WWE as a done deal caught fire for a night on social media, but was debunked in a short order. WrestleNomics' Brandon Thurston ordered the WWE employees were sent an email announcing the transaction Monday morning, and that there will be an all-hands meeting at 4 p.m. Eastern. WWE became a publicly traded company on October 19, 1999, selling 11.5 million shares at $17 a share. A mass part of WWE's financial puzzle are the company's impending media rights of both NBC for Raw and Fox for SmackDown, which are both up in October of 2024. The exclusive negotiating window with both entities opened up this weekend, with the rights expected to increase substantially, a massive financial benefit for Endeavor. The UFC's media deal with ESPN is also up in just a few years. In past earnings calls, Nick Khan has been bullish on WWE's prospects of a massive increase in revenue due to the presence of streaming providers. Here's something here. Vince McMahon remaining in power. There are some questions over the past few months that prospective buyers wouldn't want McMahon to stay around due to the cloud of controversy surrounding his various, quote, hush money payouts that were uncovered by the Wall Street Journal last summer. McMahon repaid the company $17.4 million for the costs related to the investigation last month. In an interview, Nick Khan said repeatedly that McMahon's post-sale inclusion, or lack thereof, wouldn't prevent any sale, and that he would be willing to step away if required. With this deal, that will not be the case. He and UFC Dana White have a existing relationship, and White has gone on record for how much he appreciates McMahon. The two worked together during the time Brock Lesnar was bouncing between both companies, and McMahon family attended a UFC pay-per-view event in Las Vegas that took place on the same day that Money in the Bank was held in the same venue. Well, I guess, I don't know. I think they got that mixed up. It was two different venues. So yeah, I think that's about it from there. But yeah, there are still going to be some questions. Obviously, if you're fan of the creative part of wrestling, you're going to want to, of WWE that is, you're going to want to know, is Triple H going to remain? Is he going to stay on creatively? Well, if Nick Khan is going to be the president, if you will, of WWE, and Vince McMahon is in a position to where, yeah, he's going to be the executive chairman behind Ari Emanuel, who's going to be his boss, then I don't think we have anything to really worry about. I don't think so. You got Mark Shapiro, who obviously, when people saw that name pop up, it's like, ooh, okay, this is, like, I think everybody, when they saw that, they're like, ooh, this is a name I want to see and everything. Like there was a positiveness. Like when I watched and saw just Alex talk about it, his reaction was like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Because it looks like when you look at someone like Mark Shapiro, it feels like he's the kind of guy that understands it, that gets it, if you will. So if he's the COO of Endeavor, and possibly of the new company, well, he'll probably get Triple H. He'll probably understand why people like Triple H. So I don't think Triple H is going to have to worry about anything. If he does, and he has to let's say share chief content officer duties or whatever with Mark Shapiro, I think they can learn from each other. I don't think Triple H has got anything to worry about though, as far as being head of creative. He'll stay there. In my opinion, I think he will remain, and apparently, we'll get more of our questions answered over time. I know some people are worried that Vince is going to find a way to get back into creative. I know some people are worried that Vince might show up, tonight and on Raw and announce the deal and everything. And he might do that. Because, again, with the Raw after Mania, you never know. But just because he might show up and everything doesn't mean he's going to be creatively booking. He's probably just going to be there to announce the sale if he does. If he does come, if he does appear. I'm not saying he will or anything, because again, there's still a lot of controversy surrounding him and all that. So yeah, I don't think he'll want to show his face, because again, even though he's filed for, even though he's basically listed himself as an employee now for the next 2 years through the SEC filings and all that, there's still that cloud of controversy. So I don't think he wants to chance anything just yet. I don't think he wants to really, chance anything just yet. I mean, I'm sure they'll talk about it on Raw tonight, so there's no doubt. So that's definitely one thing to tune in for Raw, to see how they announce this, transaction, this merger. Now, one thing I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be wondering about is, does this mean we're going to get hybrid pay-per-views now? We're going to get like a hybrid of, SummerSlam being half wrestling, half MMA. I don't think so. Because I think, they're going to merge into one company under the TKO banner. Well, that's the name they got going right now. But whatever name they finalize on, later this year, they're going to basically be under that banner, if you will. It doesn't mean, you're going to see you will probably see some UFC stars pop up every now and then for cross-promotional stuff. Don't get me wrong. You'll probably see that. But more than likely, this will be basically what, originally, had things worked out positively for WCW. This is going to be basically like that. It's basically going to be like when WWE goes off the air, instead of saying World Wrestling Entertainment, it's going to say, copyright Endeavor, whatever the new company's name is. Whatever the new company's name is, subsidiary of Endeavor or whatever. It's basically going to have the new company name under there. That's it. It's going to have the WWE logo, but then it's going to say copyright whatever the new company's name is, TKO, whatever. That's it. Same with the UFC. UFC is always going off the air and it says copyright TKO or Endeavor and all that. So yeah, honestly I think this is a good thing in the long run. Again, there are a lot of questions, obviously. There are a lot of questions. You know, people are probably still curious as to why would you want to keep Vince around. Yes, him and Dana White have a good relationship, obviously. You know, and they are both controversial, same as Ari Emanuel, you know. But, you know, let's be honest, they know business. Whether we like them or not, they know how to run, they know, you know, they know how to run a business successfully. You know, we can't deny that. We can't take that away from them. And maybe with Vince being in this position that he's going to be in, he's going to learn from Ari Emanuel of, you know, what to do and not what to do. And maybe Ari Emanuel will look at him along with this, what was the other guy's name? Peter Walston or whatever his name was that I mentioned. What was the other name I mentioned? Basically. What was the other name I mentioned? You know, I mentioned it here somewhere. It should pop up now. Hold on. Oh, what was that name? Trying to find it here. See, I know it's here somewhere. See, says here, I know it's here, so I don't know if it's this one or the CNBC one. Let's see. Oh, Patrick Whitesell. Okay, so here's how the structure goes according to this. Ari Emanuel is going to serve as chief executive of both Endeavor and the new company, the UFC and WWE under. Patrick Whitesell remains as Endeavor executive chairman, while Mark Shapiro remains as president of Endeavor and the new company. McMahon will be executive chairman of the new company with Nick Khan as president of WWE and Dana White remaining as president of UFC. So, yeah, apparently Vince is going to have more than just, you know, Ari Emanuel to answer to. He's going to have this Patrick Whitesell and even, I think, Mark Shapiro to answer to as well. And if they're more in favor of, hey, people like what you're putting on right now, we're not going to change it, you know, that's fine. So yeah, you know, again, I think this is a good thing. You know that. I think it's a good thing going forward. The sale is supposed to be finalized after a lot of the hurdles, which there might be some hurdles, it may not be, but it's expected to be finalized by the 1st of July, which is the beginning of the second half of 2023 of this year. So it's supposed to be finalized within the next several months. Like, you know, it's like a lot of people point out, there's a lot of X's and O's that still have to be dotted off here and there, and those X's and O's include various hurdles they have to go through. And I got a feeling one of those hurdles is going to be like, hey, you got to get rid of McMahon. I've got a feeling the McMahon situation is going to be brought up, and Ari Emanuel is going to probably say, Vince, I got to let you go. You know, we're going to purchase the company, but, you know, once it's all finalized, we're going to let you go. I'm not going to be surprised if it does. If that does happen, and he does get let go, or maybe a severance pay, which is part of the deal he made as to remain on as a 2-year employee. That he'll get a severance pay. He might get a lot sooner than he thinks. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing for everybody involved. You know, like I said, obviously there will be some crossover events, maybe, or crossover promotion. There's no doubt. But if there's one thing a lot of people have always said about Endeavor when it came to them owning UFC, is they've left them alone. And I guarantee that with this new venture, this new company that's coming, that's a spin-off of Endeavor, you know, if it's basically the same way, I don't see that much of a change. Do I see WWE's product being a little bit more edgier? Well, if they're going to reach an audience which consists of people that are fans of UFC, so I've had to pause there for a second, I had to think about what I was going to say. I do apologize for the pausing there. But if they're going to reach, an audience, or try to embrace an audience that, is, part of the UFC, that's used to seeing blood and violence in those MMA matches, or MMA fights, then yeah, I can honestly see them getting a little edgier. I mean, we're getting a taste of that now a bit, but I can definitely see them getting a lot more edgier. If under this new venture, I could see that. Do I see them going back to TV-14? Oh, definitely. Because if there's anything that they might know about and all that, even as a publicly traded company, if there's anything they know about, that the best way you're going to get people's attention is to basically have a rating that's going to get their attention. And TV-14 is going to be that rating. There is no doubt in my opinion. So yeah, I think one of the positives is we're going to get a TV-14 rating. I really do. I really do see that. So, outside of that, what about the talent? Well, I can definitely say this, that if we're going to have an influence of UFC in there a little bit, just a bit, maybe, not saying we will, I can see more of a focus on letting the men and women do what fans want them to do, and that's wrestle. Just go out there and wrestle, have decent storylines and all that to go along with it, but outside of that, just let them go out there, have some great wrestling matches. And I could see maybe WWE doing something that AEW abandoned, and that's the ranking system, and do it probably in the style that UFC does. Let certain people climb up to these, divisions, for these championships, let them climb up and earn their shot. I think we're going to get that. I think what's going to happen is part of the influence of this merger is you're going to have the tag division, the Intercontinental division, the women's division, and the world division, if you will, the Undisputed Universal division, all divided to where you're going to have certain talents ranked in certain areas. Like you might have talents, like for the men, when it comes to the Intercontinental and the Undisputed title, you might have, the same superstar ranked, in both, divisions, but at different rankings. So I could see maybe some rankings coming out of this, inspired by the UFC. I could. I'm not saying I will, but I think we could. There's no doubt. But yeah, I do see more of an emphasis on, outside of that, I do see more of an emphasis on letting men and women go out into that ring and, just, do their thing. Just go out and do their thing. That's what I see happening. Do I think Roman will keep the title, after this deal is finalized? I think Roman's probably going to lose it. Because if this deal goes off without a hitch, and it's supposed to conclude before Money in the Bank of all things, then yeah, I don't think Roman's going to keep the title that much longer. Because if there's anything, they're going to want a champion that's always there. And I've got a feeling Endeavor, the new company, the people running it, they're going to talk to Roman and they're going to say, look, they're going to look at his contract and they're going to be like, yeah, we're cool with this contract, but we can't have you as champion with this contract. So I've got a feeling it's going to affect his reign. It's going to be like they're going to take him aside and say, look, we don't mind you having this part-time contract, but we can't have you as champion. If we're going to do house shows with you guys a lot, which I still think is going to be a thing and all that, because, you got to get that extra revenue, somewhere. Honestly, I don't think they're going to allow Roman to keep the championships. I don't. So I think that does open the door, believe it or not, for Cody to potentially win. Maybe sooner than SummerSlam. But we'll see. But yeah, I think it's going to have an effect on some champions and some participants there that don't have a big schedule. You know, if they, to me, it's like if they agree, hey, we're not going to, let's say, put the championships on, certain people like Brock or Ronda or Roman if they're not always going to be here. I think that's going to be the direction they go in. But unless someone like Roman says, okay, fine, I'll go back to being full time, then I think they'll keep him as champion. But this to me could adversariously affect Roman's reign as champion, in my opinion. It really could. It really could. I could be wrong, but I think it could. I think it could. Now, what does this do for the TV media rights deal? Well, I think, one, it increases WWE's chances of staying on USA and Fox, but I can also see this new deal causing USA to drop the third hour of Raw and put it back to 2 hours. That's what I think. That's what I think is going to happen. I think the positive potentially is Raw will drop the third hour and go back to 2 hours because the new parent company is going to be like, yeah, USA, we want to keep on here, but we don't want the 3 hours, we want 2. And they may give them an offer that USA can't refuse. Maybe some kind of deal like, hey, you give us just 2 hours of Raw from now on, go back to that, and we'll give you some free UFC events, in the process. That could happen. That could happen. But then, what about pay-per-views? Because there has been talk that, we could potentially go into, pay-per-views similar to what UFC does right now with ESPN. I mean, ESPN Plus, that is. Because ESPN Plus, you have the pay-per-view you could buy there on the streaming service, separately outside of your regular monthly bundle, but you also have the opportunity and chance to buy it as a regular pay-per-view. So are we heading in that direction with, WWE in the future? Is WWE gonna, if they stay with USA, they stay with NBC, they stay with Fox, and mostly with Peacock, is the new Endeavor group, this new partnership, gonna have Peacock go like, that pay-per-view like structure you have on ESPN Plus, that does sound like a good idea. I think we'll do that too. Could that be it? We don't know. Could they make a deal where WWE programming stays, or pay-per-view stays on Peacock, but the exception is the premium live events, the pay-per-views, go to another service that will charge? That might happen. We don't know. We don't know. But again, we'll see. We'll have to see what occurs in the next several months. Here's what I think. I don't think we're going to get full answers until next year. That the deal will be finalized and all that, but even if the deal is finalized, all the hurdles are overcome and everything is taken care of by the second half of this year, nothing officially will start until I think at least maybe somewhere next year. Like, everything might be X'd and O'd and and all that, everything taken care of, but I don't think we'll see any kind of like change, reboots or whatever, or restructures if there's any restructure until next year. That's what happens with a lot of these big transactions. Like, even though they could be finalized one year, it's always the following year or so before you see any change, if any, whatsoever. So yeah, besides that though, I think this is a great move. At least it's not Saudi Arabia. I know a lot of people were worried about that. I know some people would have been okay with any other potential buyer outside of that. But yeah, I think when Endeavor's name popped up as a potential buyer, it's like everybody was pointing at that like, oh yeah, this is what we want outside of like Disney or whoever. This is who we want. This is who we want buying WWE, if anybody, because they know what to do. And now that's become a reality. It's become a reality, and we'll see what happens. Again, they still got hurdles to overcome, going into July 1st of this year, where it should be finalized and set to go. But again, even if that's the case, I don't see any real change occurring until the start of next year, or at least after WrestleMania next year. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment below. How do you feel about this? And until next time, talk to you later.